In Greek mythology, there's a story of Sisyphus, which is quite popular worldwide. ये कहानी है Sisyphus की, whom the gods punished to push a huge boulder up the hill right to the top. But just as he reaches the top, the boulder rolls back down to the ground. Sisyphus then needs to go back down to push the boulder back up the hill, and this whole act of going up and down will repeat for eternity. In short, Sisyphus is forced to do something that will never work out. Therefore, Sisyphus never reaches the top. Sisyphus की कहानी ने मुझे काफी सवालों के साथ छोड़ा. Questions like the significance of freedom in our life and how we perceive it, immortality, the importance of free will, and what role one's fate plays along with the idea of freedom that influences our perception of our available choices. In Sisyphus' case, the punishment directly affected his free will, as he was restricted to performing only one activity again and again. Therefore, along with immense physical strain, it's the internal turmoil within Sisyphus that makes this task even harder. He could be having thoughts of dancing, writing, or just thinking of all the other possible ways he could spend his time, instead of going through this extremely hard labor of a punishment. There's no end point for his suffering, nor is there a point where Sisyphus will be free. Sisyphus is imprisoned for eternity, and without this internal suffering and pain that he's going through, the punishment wouldn't make sense, because the purpose of punishment is to ultimately make one feel guilty about his other actions. But with Sisyphus, there's no chance for redemption. The story of Sisyphus has no free will, extreme labor, and repetitive failure. This is exactly what makes the story so horrifying, because of how closely related and familiar it is to our lives and the real world, where at times we too go against our will and are forced to work hard despite knowing that this isn't the game we got to be playing. Sisyphus doesn't succeed because of a reason. He never intended to perform the activity but was told to do so. We too are doing most of the things against our choice because of the will of someone who's superior and has authority over our lives, like the gods in Sisyphus' case. Sisyphus is not supposed to be happy and successful because he is meant to be punished. But you and I are not. The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, they'll tell you who you are, who you should be, and how you should get there. Something along the same lines was told by Nietzsche. He came up with an idea hoping to bring us out of our mundane lives. Eternal recurrence is a hypothetical question that Nietzsche asked as a thought experiment. It means, what if after we die, we'll be born again and live our lives the same way we have lived till our death, with zero changes? Same parents, same situations, same friends, same every single thing. And this circle of life will repeat for eternity. If such a theory did turn out to be true, after getting such information, how would one react and live the rest of his life? Any wise person would then think to live the remaining set of his lives to experience new things, take risks, say yes to more opportunities, and focus more on creating new memories, which he would then love to relive again for infinity. This question frees us from any sort of mundanity in our lives and shows us how much more our lives can be instead of it being the primary reason for restricting ourselves. This question reveals the Sisyphus kind of life you might be leading that you aren't aware of. If such a question makes one feel tormented and dreaded, it shows that you aren't living your life the way you wish to. This thought experiment makes one think about his life, his needs and wants, and makes one take steps towards them with a sense of purpose, acceptance, and courage. In situations where one feels lost and nihilistic about life, eternal recurrence acts as a compass to give some sort of perspective and brings the idea of authentic living. This thought experiment gave rise to Nietzsche's several other popular philosophies, जैसे will to power, Superman or Übermensch, and Amor Fati. Nietzsche popularly said, "I know of no better life purpose than to perish in attempting the great and impossible." And to me, nothing describes a life better lived than this quote. Regardless of this thought experiment, we should realize that we humans are creatures of habits, and what we regularly do is what brings comfort and stability in our lives, despite it being mundane and monotonous. We like to keep things that way. It takes courage and will to bring substantial changes in our lives. Despite being aware of eternal recurrence, many would continue to live their life the same way they have been living and accept their Sisyphus fate. According to Jean-Paul Sartre, we humans are condemned to be free. In reality, if one pays attention, they'd know that humans have radical freedom compared to any object or animal, whose fate is pretty much predeterministic. Our freedom is absolute and unavoidable, since we are not born with any set purpose. We are free to make choices even in situations where we feel we have no options. We are condemned to freedom. Freedom is forced upon us because even if we don't want to make any decision, we still have to. Freedom is unavoidable and it extends to various extremes. अगर कोई चाहे तो वो अपनी सारी लाइफ सेविंग्स एक कार खरीदने में खर्च कर सकता है. But because we are free to choose and make such decisions, we are also responsible for the decision we take and for its consequences. We can't blame others for the decisions we have taken or the consequences we face by the decisions taken by us. Individuals are responsible for their actions in response to their situation. Denying the presence of freedom or blaming our circumstances because of societal norms is what Jean-Paul Sartre termed as bad faith. We tell ourselves one lie after another and end up creating this mountain of lies that eventually collapses the self. We intentionally deny ourselves freedom and choose to be ignorant about it. Wherever you are today in life is because of the choices you have made and the choices you ignored. We make choices from our understanding of freedom. Two humans born in the same situation might respond differently. One would strive for education and improvement and become someone like Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, while the other might even struggle to come out of his despair and curse his fate. Despite being restricted to our surroundings and situations, we still have immense freedom at the minute level, which is freedom of thought and an approach towards our problems. Sisyphus is punished and can only perform one activity with no possibility of success for eternity, but he still has the freedom of thought to interpret and give meaning to his suffering, which can make his going easier. Albert Camus termed this as absurdism. Only when we'll be punished for eternity will we know what it's like to have a choice or choices. All this while, Sisyphus kept trying to tell us something, which was that you will never succeed in tasks you do out of your choice. No matter how far you push the boulder, even if you reach the top, ultimately you will fall short of tasting success, because it was never yours. We must continue to power over our fate. Many imagine Sisyphus to be happy, that's their fate. Many know of no purpose but to perish in doing the great, and that's their fate. Fate is ultimately what you want it to be and not something predestined. Sisyphus too can be free, but the question is, does he want to?